Before my journey, I was completely lost. I was really angry, depressed. I continuously ate all the time. Kind of like I felt like there was no purpose. Like my life was just a cycle and it was not going anywhere.
So I've dealt with a lot of conflict in my life, but like particularly in my family. Before I became a Christian, like it was more difficult to like find someone to turn to for that.
You know, growing up in Jamaica, my family, they were Christians. And if you believe in God, you have to do everything right. And it was like a fire and brimstone, huh?
Publishing was something that really staked a lot of my identity in. And after the first couple of weeks of submitting resume after resume, I started realizing that I was getting almost zero response. It really just seemed like nobody cared.
Like I had a parent that struggled a lot with addiction. It was a very challenging time, mostly because I didn't have that parent there anymore, like I couldn't trust them.
2016, probably a real challenge and change came when our oldest son died suddenly.
And like, I was kind of just wondering, like, why is this all happening to me? Like, what is the purpose?
I was having a hard time interacting with Molly because I felt like I was failing her, and I felt like I was failing my daughter.
I always believed in God. I just never had a relationship. I felt like, you know, this is my struggles. I could deal with it. Like, just to put it on God, it's kind of like selfish.
I took Hill sick. I didn't know where I stood with God then. And it's like panic. I said, am I going to go to hell? You know, if I pass away now, you know.
It was almost a confirmation from God that my existence was purposeless. And by both Molly and I knew that we needed something more.
So Rachel, my friend from school, she was like, hey, who wants to come to youth group? And then I was like, why not?
And we arrive, and immediately it's almost like we step up on the curb and we realize something's different.
I was skeptical at first.
It felt like we were in the house of a family that we hadn't quite met yet.
The environment was like great. Like everyone was so happy all the time, and it was just like, I think that that's what I needed in that moment.
We're warmly greeted, not just by a greeter who's posted at the door. We're warmly greeted by congregants who very clearly want to be there and who are very clearly interested in who we are. But one of us just up and said, so I guess that's it. And we've been coming here ever since.
Every Sunday when I do come in, listening to Josh and Robert, they made it easy to understand the gospel.
I got to the class early, so when I got there was only one person sitting that day. He's my friend, I call him my father, Ron. And then he turned around to me and he said, how are you doing today? All I could say was, I'm not doing too well, and I kept repeating myself. I said, I'm not doing too well, I'm not doing too well, you know. And then he turned around and he said to me, I want to tell you a story that happened to me 10 years ago. He's telling me this story. The story was telling me it was the exact same thing I was going through.
All of a sudden, I have this loss, and okay, our small group and that just rallied around us. They just were there for us and prayed for us and let us be. They knew that we're not going to bother you right now, just let you have some time alone with the Lord, and those things we really appreciated. God has been good through all of that.
So you know what you're telling me right now? You're telling me the same thing I'm going through? And he said to me, he said, don't worry, you'll get through it. And when he said that, it was like a mountain just lifted away from my head. And I just feel like Like God is giving me a second chance in life.
And he has basically folded my narrative into a greater narrative.
But I feel like now I have a new community of people that I can go to and like trust.
Coming to church here to see my church brothers and sisters, you know, and that just makes me so happy. When Saturday night come, I can't wait for Sunday morning to come.
I have felt like this huge strength that I never had before, and you don't have to be alone in this journey.
He still thinks that I'm relevant, that I matter, and that he will provide for me and provide for my family.
It's tough to realize that God is good all the time when you're going through some deep waters, but he is.
When I think of Christ Church, I feel so grateful. What Jesus has taught me is that I am loved and accepted no matter what, and that I'm loved and accepted by the one person who matters.